My friend made $200,000 a year but was broke. I made $50,000 and became a millionaire. Here is how. I pulled up to the coffee shop in my 7-year-old Honda Civic. My best friend, Ryan, was already there. He was leaning against his brand new Porsche 911, wearing a Rolex that cost more than my car. Ryan looked like a millionaire. I looked like a substitute teacher. "Still driving that junk, Alex?" Ryan laughed, flashing his white teeth. "I just got a promotion, making $200,000 a year now. You need to upgrade your life, buddy. Interest rates are low. Live a little." Ryan thought he was winning the game of life. He had the high salary, the luxury apartment, and the designer clothes. But Ryan didn't know how to read a financial statement. He didn't understand the difference between assets and liabilities. He didn't know that his Porsche was costing him $1,500 a month, while my boring investments were earning me $2,000 a month while I slept. Fast forward 5 years, the economy crashed, inflation hit 9%, Ryan lost his high-paying job. The bank took his Porsche, his landlord evicted him from his luxury apartment. He called me crying, asking for a loan to buy groceries. He asked me, "How did you survive the crash?" I told him, I didn't just survive it, I bought it. Here is the story of how I used the simple power of compound interest and good debt to become a millionaire on a minimum wage budget, while my rich friend lost everything. To understand why Ryan went broke, you have to understand the income trap. Most people think that if they make more money, they will be rich. This is false. If you make more money but you spend more money, you are still broke. You are just broke at a higher level. 10 years ago, we both started our careers. I was making $40,000 a year as a junior analyst. Ryan was a superstar salesman making $100,000. On our first payday, I did something boring. I set up an automatic transfer. $500 a month went straight into a low-cost index fund. Ryan did something exciting. He went to the BMW dealership. He showed me the lease contract and said it was only $600 a month. He said he could easily afford it. I told him that was a liability. I told him he was paying interest on something that loses value. I asked why not buy a used car and invest the difference. Ryan said investing is for old people. He said he wanted to enjoy his youth. This is the concept of opportunity cost. Ryan spent $600 on his car. That money was gone forever. I invested my $500. With an average return of 8%, that money was working for me. It was making baby dollars. Over the next few years, Ryan kept getting raises. He went from $100,000 to $150,000, but every time he got a raise, he upgraded his lifestyle. He moved from a normal apartment to a luxury loft that cost $3,000 a month. He upgraded from the BMW to the Porsche. He started eating at 5-star restaurants every night. He was running on a treadmill. He had to run faster and faster just to stay in the same place. This is called lifestyle inflation. Meanwhile, I was playing a different game. I lived in a small studio. I cooked my own meals. I saved my raises. By year 5, I had saved up $40,000. It was not a fortune, but it was enough for a down payment on a small, ugly duplex in a working-class neighborhood. Ryan laughed when he came to my housewarming party. He asked why I lived in the hood when I had money in the bank. I told him I did not live here for the view, I lived here for the math. I explained to him that my mortgage was $1,200, but the tenant next door paid me $1,000. That meant my living cost was only $200 a month. Ryan was paying $3,000 for rent. I was paying $200. That gave me an extra $2,800 a month to invest. Ryan shook his head. He said I was crazy and wasting my best years living like a poor person. He did not see that I was building a machine that would eventually buy my freedom. Let us talk about debt. Society tells you debt is bad. That is only half true. Bad debt is when you borrow money to buy things that lose value, like cars, clothes, or vacations. You pay the bank interest and you get poorer. This was Ryan's life. Good debt is when you borrow money to buy assets that gain value and pay you cash flow. The tenant pays the interest and you get richer. This was my life. I used the good debt strategy to scale. Once my first duplex was stable, I went back to the bank. I told the banker that this property was making money and I wanted to use the equity to buy another one. Because the property was profitable, the bank gave me a loan for a second house, then a third. By age 30, I owned 10 rental units. On paper, I had $1 million in debt. Ryan looked at me and said I was crazy. He said if the market crashed, I was ruined. But he was wrong. My debt was serviced by my tenants. They paid the $1 million for me. Ryan had $50,000 in credit card debt and an $80,000 car loan. He had to pay that with his labor. If I stopped working, my tenants still paid my debt. If Ryan stopped working, his debt would eat him alive. And that is exactly what happened. The tech industry started to slow down. AI was replacing jobs. Sales were dropping. One afternoon, Ryan called me. He was not laughing this time. His voice was shaking. He told me they fired him. The whole sales team was gone. I asked him if he had an emergency fund. An emergency fund is 6 months of expenses saved in cash. It is financial rule number 1. Ryan whispered no. He said he put everything into the Porsche payments and the crypto market, and crypto just crashed 50%. I asked him how much cash he had. He said maybe $2,000, and his rent was due in 3 days. It was $4,000. He was making $200,000 a year, and he was 2 weeks away from homelessness. This is the reality of the high-income, low-net-worth trap. He asked me what to do. He said he could not lose the apartment because people would think he was a failure. Even at rock bottom, he was worried about his image. I told him he needed to sell the car today. He started crying. He said he could not sell it because he owed more on the loan than the car was worth. He was upside down. Ryan was trapped. The walls of his expensive life were closing in on him, and while his world was collapsing, mine was expanding, because in a recession, when everyone is selling, everything goes on sale. The foreclosure auction was held on the steps of the county courthouse. It was a rainy Tuesday. There were only a few people there. Most investors were scared because the news said the real estate market was crashing. They were panic selling. I was panic buying. As Warren Buffett says, be greedy when others are fearful. Brad showed up. He did not have any money to bid. He just wanted to see who would take his home. He looked tired. He had lost 20 pounds. The auctioneer started the bidding. He announced the opening bid for 42 Oak Drive was $400,000. Brad had paid $800,000 for it just 2 years ago. The bank just wanted to recoup the remaining loan balance. They were selling it at a 50% discount. I raised my paddle and bid $400,000. The auctioneer asked if anyone would bid $410,000. Silence. The other investors were looking at their phones, worried about the stock market. The auctioneer slammed his gavel. Sold for $400,000 to the gentleman in the Toyota. I wrote the cashier's check for the deposit. I had enough in my freedom fund to put 20% down, which was $80,000. The rest I financed with a new mortgage. Because the purchase price was so low, my monthly mortgage payment on the mansion would be only $2,500. Brad walked up to me as I was signing the papers. He whispered that he could not believe I bought it. He said I fix toilets for a living and I am just a landlord. I told him I am an investor, and I did not buy it with my salary. I bought it with the rent checks from my other tenants. Brad said it was not fair. He said he worked harder than me and had a better job. I told him he worked for money, but I made money work for me. I told him to go home and pack his things because he had 3 days. He walked away in the rain. He still did not understand. He thought luck was the reason. He did not see the 5 years of sacrifice I put in while he was partying in Dubai. 3 days later, I unlocked the front door of the mansion. It was empty. The marble floors echoed. It smelled like expensive cologne and failure. Brad had stripped the place. He took the curtains, the light bulbs, even the toilet paper holders. It did not matter. I had the structure. Now, here is the math. This is the secret of the rich. The mansion cost me $2,500 a month in mortgage, taxes, and insurance. If I paid that from my salary, I would be stressed. I would be a slave to the house, just like Brad was. But I did not pay it from my salary. I moved out of my duplex unit. I rented it out for $1,500 a month. My second rental property was making $500 profit a month. My third property was making $500 profit a month. Total passive income was $2,500 a month. Do you see it? My tenants were paying exactly $2,500. My new mansion cost exactly $2,500. I was living in $1 million house for free. My assets were paying for my lifestyle. This is the rule. Buy assets first. Let the assets buy the luxuries. Brad bought the luxury first, and he paid for it with his time. When his time ran out because he lost his job, he lost the luxury. I bought the assets first. Even if I lost my job tomorrow, I would still keep the mansion because my tenants are the ones paying the bill. I spent the next month cleaning the place up. I did not fill it with expensive furniture on credit. I bought used furniture. I kept my old Toyota in the driveway. It looked funny parked in front of a grand entrance, but that Toyota was my badge of honor. It reminded me that I was free.
6 months passed. The economy started to recover, as it always does. One Friday night, I ordered an Uber to go to a dinner party. I did not want to drive. A car pulled up. It was not a Mercedes. It was a beat-up Honda Civic. I opened the back door and got in. The driver asked if I was heading downtown without turning around. I froze. I knew that voice. I asked if it was Brad. The driver turned around. It was him. He looked different. He was not wearing a designer suit. He was wearing a t-shirt. He looked humble. Brad blushed. He said, "Wow, you live here now?" He looked up at his old house. I asked him how he was doing. He sighed. He said he was surviving. He said they moved into a small apartment across town. He was driving Uber while studying for his real estate license. He admitted that he realized he did not know anything about money. He did not sound arrogant anymore. He sounded hungry. He said he saw my Toyota in the driveway and asked if I bought a Ferrari yet. I smiled and said, "No, I bought another duplex last week." Brad laughed. It was a genuine laugh this time. He said he used to think I was the loser, but I was the only one playing the game right. He asked if I could teach him. He said he did not want to know how to get rich quick. He wanted to know how to buy assets and house hack. He wanted to start over the right way. I looked at him. I saw myself 5 years ago. I told him to turn off the app and come inside. I told him we were going to look at some spreadsheets. We spent the next 3 hours going over the math. I showed him the method of buying, rehabbing, renting, and refinancing. I showed him how to analyze a deal. Brad did not get his house back, but he got something better. He got an education. Today, Brad owns his first rental property. It is a small, ugly condo. He drives an old Honda, and he is happier than he ever was in the Mercedes. The lesson is simple. Do not try to look rich. Try to be rich. Being rich is not about what you spend. It is about what you own. It is about waking up in the morning and knowing that your assets cover your bills. That is true freedom. If you're watching this and you feel stuck in the rat race, stop buying liabilities. Stop trying to impress people who do not care about you. Start buying assets. Start small. Buy a parking spot. Buy a vending machine. Buy a small rental. Just start. Thanks for watching. If you want to see the exact spreadsheet I used to calculate the cash flow for the mansion, I have linked it in the description below. Do not forget to like and subscribe for more stories about money, mindset, and freedom.